Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is Monday, August 9th, and we are getting some very exciting price action to start the week. Lots of people saying this could be a very big week for crypto and crypto-related equities as well. So we'll talk about that and a whole lot more. We got the doc on today, so we'll have him cover some of those crypto-related equities. CJ pointed out in our chat this morning that we got some very interesting, unusual option activity. We'll hit that and a whole lot more. Before we get started, how are you gentlemen doing on this lovely Monday morning?
Doing well, Monty. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm good. I noticed on my Voyager app, Monty, that I'm at the high of the year for my equity in crypto. So I'm grateful for that. And that is luckily because, to your guys' points, I bought the dip. It's always easy to say it. And I, of course, just like everybody, you never bet enough on a winning horse. But I wish I would have bought more. But you guys know from the very first show that we talked about, when people ask, well, what should I do? You know, I missed it at 400. I missed it at 4,000. I missed it at 20,000 and so forth. I always just tell them buy one at some point. I don't tell them where to buy it, but I say, in particular, what I do is I buy on dips. So in other words, you have a sum of money. It doesn't matter if it's $1,000, $100,000, $1 million. You buy one contract if you can afford one contract. If you can't, obviously a $1,000 investor can't, but they could buy several Satoshis worth, several sats. Bitcoins are broken into a million little pieces. So if you needed to buy $500 worth on that $1,000 budget, buy $500 worth, watch it, add to it on dips. And then just like this, I mean, obviously, if I didn't add at all, I would be at the high when Bitcoin was trading 64 and Ethereum was over 4,000. But Bitcoin's back over 45,000, still nearly 20,000 under the high of the year. And I'm at my high of the year right now because when it dipped to 34, I bought some. When it dipped to 30, I bought a little bit. And now, you know, we've had a 50% move from 30 to 45 in Bitcoin alone. So if you did that, or if you did like CJ and Monty have been saying, and in Ethereum, even in the Voyager token, look at the Voyager token, VGX today. I mean, you know, if we can't hold your hand and pull the trigger for you, but you can kind of listen to the wisdom of crowds. And that's one of the reasons you should join the guys in the Daily Crypto Room, because they talk about it all day long.
Yeah, absolutely, John. And we have a lot of questions in here in the chat about, crypto-related equities, specifically miners. And I do want to get to that. But before we do, CJ, I want to hop into the Bitcoin charts because you pointed out something interesting on Twitter this morning. We're up above that 200 period SMA for the first time in a very long time. And you've been talking about, the Wyckoff accumulation channel. Does this put us into a new phase of this cycle? Are we, how different is this price action from just a week ago? What are you seeing here?
It's not too much different. It's still following that schematic very accurately. And the reason why I like that schematic and that theory in general is because it's a way to interpret technical analysis with actual fundamentals. There was this kind of analogy that I used in the room over the weekend, which is like if you're sailing, you have to use the wind and the tides. Yeah, there we go from Bob. But it needs a combination of both, because you had a lot of technical analysts saying, head and shoulders pattern to 15K, but that analysis has really no conception of the actual supply and demand fundamentals within the Bitcoin market and stock to flow. And so in retrospect, I think it's just important kind of as a general premise to always include a healthy combination of those two. But without rambling any further, let's get into the Bitcoin charts. And I want to start this one off with the weekly, because we just had a new weekly candle. And this is a really nice picture of the macro trend here and what exactly we are seeing in terms of momentum on a longer term time frame. And I think it's going to paint a very bullish picture for us all here. So as we can see, right about to experience a new bullish cross on the weekly charts on the MACD. That's always a great signal that has led to many future bull runs in Bitcoin's history in retrospect. And one that I really like is the True Strength Index, or the TSI here. And specifically, I want to draw your attention to these intersections in which the blue line goes above, the red line underneath the midpoint, or the zero line here. And so we had one of those in the bear market of 2015. We had another one in the bear market of 2018. And then during COVID, when we were really recovering and starting the next bull cycle based on the 2020 halving, we had an intersection like right at the midline again. Now, of course, we had a black swan event in COVID. And if we didn't have that, I truly believe we would have just kept on trucking and gone right up to 20K. We did have a little bit of a setback, and it probably set us back a few months due to that COVID black swan event. But now we are approaching a very similar instance to where we were after that recovery. And we're starting to see another potential bullish crossover in terms of momentum on the weekly charts. So that's really promising. To close it up with the daily perspective and what Monty was talking about on this Wyckoff schematic and these accumulation phases, we were looking at one last pullback from this level. That is kind of what this tweet had been a few weeks back. And then if we actually look at the Bitcoin chart and where we're at now, we can see we had that pullback to the last point of support. This was ultimately the last bear trap before kind of the new breakouts and the markup phase. And now we are at a really critical turning point. Like Monty correctly pointed out earlier, we are back above the 200-day moving average, which is really, really important, especially for a lot of algorithms, a lot of funds that make decisions specifically on that metric. So a lot of interesting stuff going on. I mean, it's hard. I don't think we're going to be able to get to every single topic today, but I'll leave it with that.
Yeah, it's really, I'm sorry to cut you off. I'll just make it real quick, Monty. But it's amazing how, from April on, everything was FUD. From the tail end of April all the way until 2 weeks ago, everything was fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Even good news for crypto, like El Salvador or Salvador, like Bitcoin mining in Iceland and so forth, using volcanic activity to power geothermal and so forth. Everything was just shrugged off during that time frame. And all of a sudden, it really seemed to turn psychological anyway, guys, just in the last 2 weeks in particular, a lot of it on that Amazon rumor. Now, Amazon, it does have a Bitcoin team now, and we don't know exactly what they're going to do because they've basically come out and denied most of the things. And using it as a currency on the platform, okay, that's fine. But if they come out with their own crypto, of course, that's a pretty big deal, because Facebook said they were going to, and then they kind of got slapped around by the government and they went away. But anyway, that seems to be a real sentiment turner anyway, I'd say, Monty. And I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, John, I think there's no doubt that sentiment just feels so much different than it did a month ago, even just 2 weeks ago. We really kind of seemed like we shifted at that bottom there. And I want to get to something that a lot of people in the comments have been asking about, and something that CJ pointed out this morning as well, I think is definitely interesting and speaks to the sort of week we may have. So right to start the morning, first two assets that popped up on UOA were Riot and Mara. So I got to ask you, Dr. J, are you going to be trading Riot and Mara this week? Have you taken a look at them at all?
I have, and I'm in them both. And let me, if you don't mind, I'm going to share a screenshot that I did this morning for you guys.
Go ahead.
So let's see here. Just need to pull that, go over here, hit share screen. Okay, let's see, share. Let's see, screen sharing is best. Yep. Okay, thank you. So let me see. Now I just have to find which screen it's on. It's on this one. Okay, let me see.
And on Friday's cocktail hour, CJ, Mikey was talking about some other blockchain related equities as well. Canaan was one, BTBT was another, which Aaron Hayden is talking a lot about in chat. So it's not just Riot and Mara, John. There's lots of others as well. So any that you've been taking a look at, I think that people would love to hear about.
Right. Well, thank you for that. So let's see.
You are sharing now. We can see your screen.
Yeah, but I'm not getting the screen I wanted. So let me see. I'm going to stop sharing that window and stream a different one. Here we go. Let's see. Share screen. Okay. There we go. All right. Are you guys seeing that one?
No.
Oh, wait. I have one more thing to click.
There we go.
Now you got it. Bang.
Bang.
All right. So this is the heat seeker, guys, for Mara. And of course, they're a huge miner. There you see, if you look over on the far right side of your screen, you'll see a green several boxes from 32 to 40. Those are strike prices, of course. Mara's trading at that moment that I did the screenshot like 5 minutes ago, $37, let's say, $36.95. And right away, we see 1,469 contracts trade at the 35 strike. You look at the big yellow arrow, follow it all the way over to the right side, and you see that that's the 35 strike. You also see 2,100 at the bottom of the screen there, again, smaller arrow. You see 2,100 of the 40s changing hands as well. And Mara's moving up during this time frame, and a lot of speculative trade as the stock moves higher. Second trade here is that one, Riot blockchain. And same sort of thing, right at the 40 strike. The stock's trading at that time $38.92, and at the 40 strike, somebody comes in and speculates with 2,200 at that level. You can also see it just above that arrow at about the 37 strike, already 980 contracts, 617 contracts, a lot of accumulation, upside calls in Riot and Mara. And that's after they've made some pretty nice moves already. So both of those, I mean, like right now, Mara, M-A-R-A, is, let's see, 36.80, it's up 245. And Riot, R-I-O-T, is 39.29. So, upside speculation. I'm sure both these numbers are bigger already, Monty and CJ, as far as these. And of course, Voyager, let me see where that equity is trading, VYGVF. Voyager is 1730 right now, up 65 cents or about 3.8%. So we're seeing nice moves in any crypto related asset. Some of them, the ones with options, Voyager does not have options yet because it's a Canadian OTC. When it uplists onto the NASDAQ, it'll have options immediately because this is a $2.5 billion company already, Voyager. So just wanted to share that with you guys. CJ flagged it at the top of the show. And yeah, there's a lot of buying in here, Monty, a lot of upside call spec.
Yeah, it seems like almost the perfect storm, John, because we have earnings for Riot today, earnings for Coinbase later in the week. And then also, we have Bitcoin getting above those critical levels that we're talking about. And that's traditionally when we see those blockchain related equities run. So it could be a very, very interesting week. Now, CJ, I saw you smirking just a second ago. I'm guessing you were reading the comments. And Bill Parker puts in a comment that you were just talking about, actually, before we started the show. You were shocked that you found yourself agreeing with Ted Cruz. And this is a really interesting crossroads we're at here with the infrastructure bill. There's a lot up in the air. Any thoughts on that before we kind of close up the show here?
Yeah, I wasn't trying to get political or anything. I just thought it was a little interesting that Ted Cruz was like the hero this weekend. That's all. But I think it is still kind of a known unknown. Obviously, there have been improvements to the amendments, but we're definitely going to see how this turns out kind of today and tomorrow, and what effect it might have. I think if there's a positive amendment, and more news goes into it, I think this rally could just continue and really rip if people lose that fear and that kind of dissipates from the overall market. So with that being said, would love to hear your guys' opinions on it as well, kind of before we move to the Doge of the day.
Yeah, just one thing I wanted to add was a pretty interesting tweet we had here from Jerry Brito, and it was actually shared in chat. I want to give credit to Dr. Joss saying he brought this to my attention. But I think that, so you've been hearing a lot about, the different amendments, whether it's Senator Loomis, Warren, Warner, or Portman. It seems that most of crypto Twitter and crypto enthusiasts are backing Senator Portman's proposal because of the fact that it includes tax provisions, or it, excludes these various operators from the impending tax provisions, and that would be miners, stakers, validators, software and hardware devs, and node operators. And this is one thing we've been harping on all throughout the last 2 weeks. It's critically important that they narrow the scope of what a brokerage is to not include these other things, because it could have incredibly large unintended consequences, and just absolutely hinder the growth of an otherwise booming industry, like DeFi, or even like, just proof of stake networks. So I think we're moving in the right direction. It seems like the scope is being limited, but there's still just not enough clarity yet. I think in the coming days, we'll find out exactly how far-reaching the rules of this amendment of this infrastructure bill will be. But until then, just trade with caution, and be on the lookout for perhaps a big move following some actual clarity regarding this incident.
Yeah, and what we're all kind of dancing around, guys, if you hadn't been following it closely, senators and members of the House are trying to figure out ways to pay for the infrastructure bill, and one of those ways was taxing crypto, taxing miners, and so forth. And there already is a tax on crypto, but their idea is to make it so that even if you didn't sell and you had a gain, there might be a tax. There might also be a tax on the miners. And Ted Cruz, Jack Dorsey, Elon Musk, Andreessen Horowitz all came out and said this would be horrible, and you would basically tear apart the beginnings of a very promising fintech revolution with blockchain and with all these cryptocurrencies. Because if this was the case, again, I don't think you need to look further, guys, than China. When they kicked the Bitcoin miners out, that's not the same as a tax, but when you kick the Bitcoin miners out, they moved. They went somewhere else. If you taxed miners, America would lose all of its miners, virtually, not overnight, because we all know it takes a little bit of time to do that, but you would lose them by 2022. We would not have a single miner in this country. It wouldn't make any sense if you're paying, some hideous tax to mine. In other words, the proof of work that goes into Bitcoin, for instance, or proof of stake with some of these other coins, you would lose all of that business, and all of those that technological innovation would all set up where? Switzerland, Malta, Singapore, dozens and dozens of locations around the world, not all of which are tax-free, but they would certainly avoid the tax of just the work that they're doing. Again, if they sell the coins, then there would be a tax. There's already a tax on them if they sell the coins. In other words, you mine a coin, you win some of those proof of works, and you get coins, and you sell them, you'd pay a tax. That's already the case. But if you go out and create something like this, all you do is drive all these people to another venue. It wouldn't end crypto. It would be another, sort of nuclear winter, like we've experienced with China. but they would leave and get set up somewhere else quickly. And it would just be dumb. And by the way, the money they would generate, which would only be temporary, again, because they would leave, the money you generate doesn't cover any of this bill. You know, $28 billion in tax revenue. This is, the $580 billion on top of the already approved COVID $500 billion, which they're calling $1 trillion infrastructure. That's the bipartisan bill. Then you throw on those other, the ones they're going to do under reconciliation in the trillions. This is nothing. This is like 1%. It'd be so stupid to drive all this business offshore just to satisfy 1% of the spending for this bill. So that's why Dorsey and Elon Musk and Andreessen Horowitz and even Ted Cruz were in there saying, this is dumb. Why would we do this? This is totally non-productive. So anyway, just to put it out there.
Just to put it out there,
Just to put it out there.
That was great. That was great. Love it, Doc. Monty, you got a Doge of the day for us today?
Yeah. So I'm guessing you have a lot of them today, CJ. Is that why?
Of course he does.
It's Monday. I'm feeling that Monday's kind of a good day to try to highlight the strong assets in a strong market.
Yes, I definitely feel you there. And I'm with you. I think that there are a lot of potential doges of the day today. I think a lot of assets are looking strong. CJ, you talked last week about, sort of an overarching formation that we're seeing in a lot of these altcoins where you have the moving averages turning up, you got the Williams alligator turning up, which is something we haven't seen in a very long time. And I think all of those assets are going to be great trades. But the one I want to talk about today is one that I've been very bullish on, over the last week or so, and that is DOT. So we've seen a lot of assets showing a strong negative divergence from their 200 period simple moving average. Even just go back 2 weeks ago, and we were seeing something very similar with Bitcoin. When you see assets that have that sort of divergence, especially when it's coming on a decline in volume and massive capitulation, which is exactly what we saw here with DOT. We saw the most bearish volume here on this day of large capitulation. And since then, it was a slow grind down where volume was slowly decreasing, bearish volume, which is a bullish metric, until we essentially bottomed here and there was more or less no trading going on. Since that point in time, we've been steadily climbing back up with volume increasing day over day. The moving average, the 20 period smooth moving average is also turning up, and we've established very strong support to the downside. That being said, with all of the positive, price action we're seeing in the larger cap assets like Bitcoin and ETH, I tend to see those during periods like this as sort of leading indicators for the more medium and even lower cap assets. And DOT for me is one that I think is going to run incredibly hard once we see the ETH speculation start to cool off a little bit. ETH has been on a tremendous run all the way up above 3K. It started to cool off a little bit yesterday, but it's looking like it may continue to run today. So as long as most of the money is flowing into ETH, I think DOT could just kind of linger in this area here between the two. But I do really feel strongly that once that capital flows in, once people stop speculating on ETH for a minute as it cools down, they're going to look downstream to the more mid cap and lower cap assets, and assets that are showing a similar technical formation to DOT are going to be huge benefactors of that capital and are going to run up to the moving average. And I expect them to even break above their moving average and head back up into these previously critical levels that we saw earlier in the year. So I'll be watching that closely. I published a trade insight on it last week. Still hasn't hit my exit price of $26.50. So I'll still be watching that, but that is my Doge of the day today, Polkadot.
Very
That
interesting.
looks due.
Very interesting. I like that trade. I'm going to throw one out quick that you guys will both laugh at, I'm sure. Zcash. So its symbol is ZEC. Z like zebra, E like everything, C like Charlie. Zcash. I screwed up. I didn't sell it at 130. It got up to 130 yesterday, I think. It pulled all the way back down to 120. I bought a little more, and now it's 129. Actually, it got to 135 and I didn't sell it. So I'm all the more, or 136. So anyway, I missed that on Friday. And then it pulled all the way back down to the 120, 119 area. Bought a little more. It's back up to 129, almost 130. I think it makes another, if we stay strong in crypto, I think it makes another run at 135, 136 here. So I would set a tight stop, but that's where I'd be looking for to get out.
Very nice. Yeah, it is showing a very similar technical formation to DOT and a lot of other assets as well. So I like that pick, Doc. How about you,
Thanks,
CJ?
sir.
What have you got for us today?
Yeah, I've got a somewhat short list.
Short list.
So yeah, all these assets right here highlighted in the blue group are what I'm going to be highlighting today. And they have the characteristics very similar to what Monty had highlighted earlier. But really like what we're seeing in Lena, higher highs and higher lows. Nice bullish hammer candle right off of the moving average there. So looking for some bullish continuation in linear token. That's been one that really like and have really followed. Same with SRM being Serum. That one's up 7% today. Very similar. You're seeing that W pattern, that double bottom right at about 260. Kind of a small pullback to the moving average. And then again, we're getting that bullish hammer candle that really looks like it wants to break out. Also, we have Link. Dr. Doge had picked Link as one of his doges of the day, I think back here a couple of weeks ago, and that one's had a nice run, as well as the collective market, maybe a little inverse head and shoulders thing going on here, as well as a nice bullish hammer candle. We're seeing that a lot on many different assets. Stormax has been very subtle and very sneaky climber here, but it is one who is subtly crossed over its moving average, has had that nice higher low in the trend, and is really starting to see some good positive price action. So I think if the trend is to continue and we don't get a little sell-off or pullback here in Bitcoin, we're probably going to see that bullish continuation. Also, Matic is another one. This is one that had been really depressed. It had had such an explosive run up initially. A lot of people were really excited. I remember when Mark Cuban was talking about this one. So a lot of good bullish fundamentals going on with Matic. And right after that bullish engulfing candle at the bottom of the downtrend, that would have been a picture perfect entry in retrospect, but still looking very bullish. Mana and Engine are going to be the last two. And those two have been pretty well in terms of performance, especially with the NFT markets and a lot of the interesting speculation that's been going on there. But you can just see these W patterns are everywhere in the altcoin market and with Ethereum, and getting another bullish candle there today. So those are going to be, my core assets that I really want to look at this week for potential movements. And then, can't end the show without taking a very short look at Chia. But still in that symmetrical triangle on the 4-hour, waiting for a breakout in direction to really determine where that continuation is going to go. But if we do break to the upside on this one, that measured move goes all the way up to about 340, 350. So I definitely watch that one for some volatile price action later in the week as well. But as for Doge of the Day, that's all I got, gentlemen. Thank you for the time.
Nicely done. Don't forget, folks, if you take advantage of, as thousands of you have, the Voyager offer, Voyager Digital offers 60 plus digital assets, including, of course, Bitcoin, Doge, Ethereum, Link, any of these coins that we've probably discussed. Most of them are going to be on the Voyager platform. Like I say, 60 plus of those. Zero commissions. They'll pay you up to 12% interest, especially if you have a VGX token. They will pay you even more on the interest if you have the VGX tokens on the Voyager site. And if you type in Rebel25 when you join, you will not only get all of that I spoke of, but you'll get $25 in Bitcoin just for signing up. So it's a great deal. It's a great platform. It's what I use for my crypto trading, and I think you should check it out. Voyager Digital. You can find it in the App Store, or is it in Android too, guys?
Yes, sir.
It's in Android as well. So there you go. Thank you.
There you go. And as always, if you want to come hang out with CJ and I in the Market Rebellion crypto community, you can try that for just $1 for the first month at marketrebellion.com/try crypto. We have a pro charting service like you just saw, 24/7 community of traders from all around the world with a chat room where they share their ideas and insights. We also publish actionable trade insights with entries, exits, stop losses, news, and we have an ever expanding education curriculum. CJ added some awesome TA courses just last month. Definitely go check those out because it's looking like the market is ready to rip. So you'll want to have those tools under your belt when the time is ready. So thank you guys all so much for watching. We will see you again tomorrow morning. Take care.